In this tutorial, I'll walk you through Pop Invoice's Centralized Notion Settings Page, a single place to manage all your connections between Notion and Pop Invoice. Previously, settings were scattered across different sections, but now everything is in the Notion section of Pop Invoice under Properties. If you're an existing Pop Invoice user, don't worry, all your current settings are already populated here for you. There's no need to start from scratch. Let's start with the mandatory settings. These are the core settings that are required for Pop Invoice to function correctly, and so you need to make sure these are set up. The first mandatory setting is the invoice status, used by Pop Invoice to track and update the status of your invoices throughout their life cycle. Start by selecting the property in your invoice database that holds the status information. This can be either a status property or a single select property. Next, you'll define the specific statuses that Pop Invoice should recognise and use. First, fill in the status that indicates when an invoice is ready to be created. Then the status Pop Invoice should apply once the PDF invoice is generated. After that, define the status for when the invoice has been emailed to the client. And finally, the status to use when the invoice is marked as paid in Pop Invoice. The next mandatory setting is the client invoice address property. This setting is essential for populating the client's address on the PDF invoice. You'll need to select the property in your client database that contains the client's address details. Pop Invoice will use this information to automatically include the correct address on each invoice. After the mandatory settings, you'll find other customizable options. Each setting comes with a written explanation underneath and a pop-up help with more detailed instructions. For each setting you want Pop Invoice to use, simply select the corresponding property from your Notion database, whether it's the invoice date, invoice number prefix, or any other detail. Make sure to link the right property so that everything works seamlessly. And don't forget, always remember to save your changes to apply the settings. Also in this Notion section, you can easily view the databases currently connected to Pop Invoice by clicking on the database link. If you want to change the database Pop Invoice uses, you can rerun the setup process directly from here, making it simple to adjust your connections as your needs evolve. With everything now in one place, it's much easier to manage your Pop Invoice settings. Take a moment to explore the page, and if you have any questions, our help pages and support team are just a click away.